Hello everybody, I'm Dong-seok Yang, a PhD student of Motion Computing Lab at Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. My research interest is real-time human motion generation and telepresence avatar motion. Today, I'm going to present our latest work, LoBSTr, a real-time lower body pose prediction from sparse upper body tracking signals. We first got the motivation during our past research on AR telepresence. As our telepresence application is designed to use the real spaces of users, they are equipped with furniture and other objects. In these environments, feet trackers have a high probability of failure due to infrared occlusions, especially when the user is sitting on a chair and feet are under a desk or table. Furthermore, feet trackers are vulnerable to impacts between the feet and floor. In the video on the right side, you can see that feet trackers often fail during locomotion. We suffered a lot for these problems and found the need of robust method to generate lower body motion of virtual avatars. In addition to the tracker instability, we discovered two more factors that make full body avatar difficult to use for general end users. Commercial VR/AR devices only offers 3-point tracking on head and 2 hands as default, and the users need to buy 3 additional trackers to use full body avatar based on inverse kinematics. Even with 6 trackers, it is still challenging to generate natural avatar motion from users with different body shapes, since we cannot obtain a precise skeleton from sparse signals. The task of predicting full body pose from sparse signals is an underdetermined problem where many different poses can satisfy the given inputs. To obtain the most plausible pose among them, researchers have developed methods that leverage additional knowledge or heuristics on human motion, or learn to predict plausible poses from examples. One of the most successful work is Deep Inertial Poser by Huang et al., which reconstructs full body pose from 6 inertial measurement units worn on the user body. A company named Deep Motion introduced a physics-based avatar animator from off-the-shelf 3-point tracking system. Except for the motions in which leg movement is important, such as kicking, the leg generally takes the role of moving the upper body to some desired direction or supporting the posture of the upper body. For this range of motions, we assumed that it is possible to predict the lower body pose from upper body information and try to model this correlation with deep neural network and existing motion capture data. The major contributions of our research are as follows. First, we use velocity representation for input other than conventional position orientation representation. We found that velocity representation better resolves the ambiguity between upper body tracking signals and lower body poses. Furthermore, it is robust to variation in user body shapes so that we can train our model only with existing motion capture data of a single skeleton. Secondly, the recurrent architecture and regularizing terms preserve temporal continuity between poses generated in real time. Lastly, our model is designed to be lightweight so as to run in real-time applications. This is the overview of our LoBSTr network. The network is divided into 2 components, latent encoder and prediction layers. The latent encoder gets past sequence of tracking signals in given time window as input and forms a latent vector. We chose the Gated Recurrent Unit cell for its remember and forget function and having fewer parameters than the LSTM cell. The linear layers in prediction layers input latent vector and output lower body pose and context states of fit in the current time frame respectively. For the scalability and reproducibility of our research, we chose to augment tracking signals from existing motion capture datasets rather than capturing the tracker signals and full body motion simultaneously. We used locomotion data from phase function neural network by Holden et al. And static motion data from CMU and MHAD motion capture datasets. We first augmented the imaginary trackers on the target joints of head, hands, and pelvis, and then synthesized the tracker noise behavior. The video on the right side is an example of a sequence with synthesized tracking signals and ground truth lower body poses. To minimize the ambiguity between sparse upper body input signals and lower body poses, we defined a reference frame as follows. The forward z vector of the reference coordinate frame is defined as forward z vector of the pelvis tracker projected onto world xz plane. Reference of y vector is set as world of y vector. By doing so, the reference coordinate frame only considers world y rotation of the pelvis tracker. Neglecting z and x-axis rotation is fine because we are not interested in motions such as windmill or forward rolling, which have significance in rotations with neglected axes. In addition, the pelvis tracker cannot be firmly attached to the user's abdomen and may have unintended rotations. Neglecting the rotations for reference removes such rotational noise. As we wanted our method to work for different users without any incidental tunings, we are looking for a feature that is robust to body scale and proportion while having enough information to avoid ambiguity. Conventional position orientation representation could not be used here because it is hugely affected by the shape of the user body. Then, we defined a velocity representation that can robustly map input signals to corresponding lower body poses. The input velocities of frame I, Ti, is defined as amount of changes, deltas, in global positions and orientations of four trackers, transformed to local changes with respect to the reference coordinate frame at I. In addition to the velocities of trackers Di, the scaled reference height is added to form the input vector xi. This value is intended to give information whether the user is sitting or standing. The scaling parameter for the reference height is computed by dividing the reference height of skeleton of training data with the user's reference height, both in T poses. Given the sequence of input vectors x to current time frame I, the network is trained to output lower body pose and context states of fit at current time frame I. Output lower body pose consists of local rotations of 8 joints. The ground truth context states are obtained by thresholding each toe base joint height. We optimize our network to minimize 4 loss terms: pose loss, 4 kinematics loss, fit velocity loss, and contact prediction loss. The remaining 3 terms work as regularizers to promote the naturalness of fit trajectories and reduce artifacts such as foot skating and floating. I want to make it clear that all rotations in our research are represented in 6D, forward and up vectors. Pose loss is our target loss and defined as L1 norm between the predicted and ground truth lower body poses. Forward kinematics loss is defined as L2 norm between the toe base joint positions computed by FK from the predicted and ground truth lower body poses. Minimizing 3D positional errors of the joints results in better visual quality by decreasing scaling and floating artifacts. Fit velocity loss is designed to minimize ziggling effects of fit trajectory that severely degrades the perceptual quality of output motion. The loss term drives our network to produce the ground truth velocity of toe base joints. In addition to the lower body pose, our network predicts the contact state of each toe base joint. The contact prediction layer is a binary classification layer trained to minimize the binary cross entropy between output label probability and ground truth contact label. This is the overview of our full body avatar system. We used HTC Vive Pro Set as tracking device and Unity 3D engine for visualization. Input and output are transferred via socket connection between the engine and prediction module. The upper body pose is generated by an inverse kinematics solver, and the output lower body pose is post-processed with an inverse kinematics solver to satisfy the output contact state. Finally, the upper and lower body poses are combined to animate the full body avatar in real time. This is a short demo clip of full body avatar animated with LoBSTr. As you can see, LoBSTr successfully reconstructs lower body poses corresponding to the input upper body signals. One interesting point is that our model learned the gait patterns of the human motion without contact labels or phase information. The output poses generated each frame are maintaining temporal continuity even though the user is in a dynamic motion. The subject in this video is 157 centimeters tall and tries sitting on different chairs. Even though our network has never observed any data from 157 centimeters subject, it still predicts plausible lower body poses for various motion categories. The subject in this video is 171 centimeters tall and doing basic locomotion in the space. The test space is the office area of our lab, which is occupied with furniture and objects. It is a quite bad environment for stable tracking. However, we confirmed that LoBSTr still generates natural lower body poses and correctly predicts the contact state of each foot. The subject in this video is 180 centimeters tall and carrying a plastic chair to a different location. The subject's skeleton nor such motion category does not exist in the dataset, thus have never been observed by our network. An interesting point is that the network is still able to generate lower body in locomotion and predict correct contact state without arm swinging patterns of the upper body. This video shows comparison between LoBSTr and 6-point tracking avatar animated with an inverse kinematic solver. Besides motion categories that exist in the dataset, we also tested unobserved motions as you can see in this video. Our model produced perceptually very similar result with that from 6-point tracking avatar. Furthermore, different from 6-point tracking system, our method is free from the frequent failure of fit trackers caused by accumulated sensor error by impacts or infrared occlusion by existing furniture and objects. Besides its advantages, LoBSTr still has limitations. First, there still exist sliding and skating artifacts in output motion. In most cases, the artifacts are due to unintended movement of the pelvis tracker, which is attached in front of the soft abdomen. Another major source of the artifact is the ambiguity occurring when a stationary user starts moving. It is difficult to determine whether the user is beginning locomotion or moving in place only from past observations. Utilizing short future information and exploring the autoregressive approach are promising future directions to reduce this ambiguity and produce more precise motion and contact probabilities. Lastly, a very challenging goal with high impact is capturing the full body motion only from minimal 3 trackers on head and hands. However, considering the great amount of ambiguity given only 3 tracking signals, we conjecture that it would be extremely difficult to develop a 3-point tracking system that can work for a wide variety of human poses. A feasible approach might be combining additional sensory models, such as egocentric vision. In conclusion, we introduce LoBSTr, which models correlation between sparse upper body signals and corresponding lower body pose. Proposed reference definition and velocity representation for input showed great capacity for resolving the ambiguity, and the input feature is robust to different user body shapes. During the research, we found that maintaining zero latency and removing artifacts are at odds with each other. Our ultimate goal is to remove pelvis tracker and realize 3-point tracking avatar, and it is a very challenging problem since the pelvis tracker defines a reference frame and root joint for lower body pose. However, we believe that this problem has great value for making the full body avatar accessible to general end users. Thank you for listening, and feel free to ask any questions.